And we're here,
And we're here. Good morning. Happy Friday the 13th, Dante.
Friday the 13th. OMG.
Well, welcome again. It's been a while, but I'm happy to always jump on a call with you and see how we can educate our home buyers, people in the market looking to make moves in 2025, right?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, obviously, we're wrapping up the year for 24, and man, we're turning our sights to 25.
Absolutely. Well, let's go. Let's kick it off. I'd like to start with you and I have been talking about some things we hear in the industry a little bit. And if you can just share some of your expertise as it relates to he say, she say, right?
Man, there's a lot of he say, she say, and what's really the truth. So I hopefully we can bring some good facts to this and
Hmm.
really have a convo like that. So why don't you bring up a topic and then we can talk about it?
Okay. Well, let's kick this off with so Credit Karma says I'm ready to buy a house. My credit score is 650 on Credit Karma. What do you say to
Yeah.
that, Dante?
OMG, I'm always nervous when I hear that name. I don't even want to say that name. A lot of people will obviously use these different platforms, these different tools to determine what their credit score is to see if they're ready to go. And that's just not the case. Those are using a different credit model than what we use as a mortgage lender, as a mortgage broker. Use a different model. So what ends up happening is that score is off. It could be a little bit too high or it could be a little bit too low. And, it sways you. We had a situation where a gentleman was trying to buy a house and he thought he had a lower score than what he really had. So sometimes you do look at it and it'll say 653 on those type of platforms. But then the reality is you might be a 680 score and you didn't even know it. So, I mean, unfortunately, there's not always nice people that are looking out for you. So sometimes they'll give you a higher interest rate because they're going to lean on you thinking that you have a lower score than what you really do have. And, consequently, vice versa. If you had, oh, well, I'm a 700 on those platforms, and then I pull your credit and you're not a 700, you're a 670, and those make a difference. Risk and interest rates go hand in hand. So the higher the risk, the higher the interest rate, and that risk and rate will depend on what your actual, we look at all three credit bureaus. So there's Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and we go off the middle score. So, I know the platforms are trying to give you some guidance, but sometimes they lead you awry. The best way to do it is that pre-approval, so you know exactly what you qualify for.
Absolutely. And keeping in mind when you're purchasing different items, different things will apply. So those different bureaus, different scores, where whatever you're buying, like people will be looking at, creditors will look at different things to determine whether you're a good borrower or not, or a prepared borrower or not, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So which leads me to the next question, or the next myth we'd like to debunk. Let's see. So Dante, I'm working with a credit repair person. I'm really getting my things in order so that I can buy. I just don't know where I stand right now, but I'm working on things. Mm. When would you suggest is the best time for someone to reach out to someone such as yourself to see where they stand? Not the last minute, but
Sure. Yeah, I mean that I get calls even today for August, when their lease is up. And they ask that same type of question. So we try to map it out. So it really depends on your timeline. Your timeline, is your goals, your dreams. So what are you trying to do? When are you trying to do it by? And then we can kind of work backwards once I know what the end date is. Generally speaking, the pre-approval is good for 90 days. 90. So what that means is the credit report itself is good for 120 days. A lot of people don't know that, but we give ourselves that 30-day window to actually close the deal, right? We got to jump through these hoops with underwriting, appraisals, and actually get to a closing table. So, we need at least 90 days for you to find the house, get under contract, and then at least 30 days for us to close it out. So that's why we say 90-day this pre-approval is good for. So within that 90 days, we want to be able to pull your credit, review your income, get you pre-approved, find a house. So when do you want all that to kind of occur? Now,
Right.
what we can do in our space now is we have the ability to do soft pulls and hard pulls. So a soft pull is something that doesn't show up on your credit report. It doesn't take a hit to your credit. That just gives us an idea, like a bird view idea of like where you stand today. But
Hmm.
one thing about soft pulls, and you got to be careful about it, that's not a good enough credit pull for an actual pre-approval because that credit can change tomorrow based on billing cycles. When I do a hard pull, I'm locking in that credit. That's the credit I'm going to use for the next 90 days, 120 days. But when I do a soft pull, that actually is only good for that day. So if I catch you on a soft pull and it says 620, and then you say, okay, well, I don't want you to pull my credit. I'm still working on some things. But then, some of these loan officers will give you a pre-approval off a soft pull. So you do need to ask that question. Hey, is this going to be a soft or a hard? So you understand. But that pre-approval is not real with the soft pull because then when he really has to pull it, when he's going to submit it to the underwriting, it might be a different score, and now you don't qualify for that program. So you have to be very careful on working with the right people that are going to do the right things by you.
Absolutely. And that leads me to the next one. So, how would you guide consumers when, sometimes I may suggest you may want to get a second look on, the pre-approval that you have or the rate that you have. Someone else may be able to do something a little different, maybe. Um, and it always comes down to I don't want to continue pulling my credit because it'll, hurt my score. How would you speak to the fact that when you're in the market to purchase a home, it's
Sure.
okay to shop for.
Yeah, no, it is okay. I mean, the credit system is based on shopping around with different lenders. You usually have the ability to pull your credit within, at least the 15-day, turn time with, multiple lenders within that time frame. And it should not affect your credit score, within that time. So they just don't want you, going with one lender, stopping, waiting 3 weeks, and then going with a different lender, because then they kind of assume like obviously you might not have qualified and you may see a drop on your credit score. But if you pull all three lenders kind of all in the same time, you should not see an effect on the credit score. One of the beauty things that I love about being a broker, I've been a broker now since 2007, so 17 years. And I've always stayed over here. Some people are like, well, why don't you go to a bigger place or blah, blah, blah. I've stayed here because I provide options and choices for my consumers. As a broker, I have access to over 40 different banks and lenders across the country. So it's only one credit pull, but then you have access to 40 different options. I can really literally go to 40 different. Now, I kind of obviously at this point have a bird's eye view and an opinion on where I think the best deal will be for you, but I can do that shopping for you. You don't have to feel so compelled, okay, I got to get three different lenders. That means three different loan officers and see what they can do for me.
Mhm.
You can go to one person and know that 40 different eyes have been set and looked at your personal situation and see what's best for you. And then that way it takes it a little bit of the stress off of you.
Absolutely. That's all great advice, Dante. And 17 years of experience, it definitely shows. You're a great asset to the community and always full of good information for our future home buyers.
Hey, I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your time. Shaunte Williams, Coldwell Banker Realty. Happy to help with all your housing needs or questions. And we'll see you on the next call.
Take care.